Hey, this is Mark Swanson, MTC Media, wrapping up here from Eagle Bank Arena. George Mason with an exciting 90-83 win over Cornell. Mason was led by Keyshawn Hall, 29 points, 12 rebounds. He played all 40 minutes, and he was certainly a handful. Amari Kelly um, battled a little bit of foul trouble, but 17 points, 7 rebounds for him, and uh, very good game. And Baraka Okoje had 11 points. So for Mason, the first half, this thing turned into a shootout. 43-42, Mason led by one at the half. And Cornell's offensive philosophy, running the Princeton principles, gave them a ton of open threes, both in transition, secondary transition, and then also in the half court. They shot 9 for 19 in the first half from three. And, that's over 50% of their attempts, of 19 attempts from three out of the 33 that they attempted for field goals in the first half. So over 50% came from the 3-point line. Coming into the game, they were shooting probably about 40 something percent of their total field goals were 3-point attempts. So you knew this team was going to shoot 3-pointers, and they shot them very, very well in the first half. In the second half, George Mason came out so much more aggressive, a lot more physical. The game kind of got mucked up and really got physical at times, but they kind of took away that 3-point line. Only 10 attempts in the second half. As for George Mason, they kept plugging along and they kept making plays every time. Cornell would make a little run when George Mason would go up by 6 or 8. Cornell would make a little run. Mason would find a way to get a big basket here, a big basket there, a big stop on this end. It's one of these games that your team is going to play. And Coach Skin talked about it in the post game. That the defense wasn't there tonight, but the offense made up for it. And that's just something that Mason has that, you don't want to see it right now, but throughout the season is something that you can lean on, which is the fact that you can win in multiple fashions. Do you want to have a game like this where your defense struggles at times, struggles with things that was probably in the scout, struggle with things that they probably emphasize? No, you don't want those things, but I can tell you what, you can sleep better at night if when you have those off nights defensively that you have enough offense to make up for it. And on nights where your offense aren't there, that you have your defense that can make up for it. And for George Mason, this team could be that type of team. Very experienced. They can throw the ball inside, which was another thing that Skin talked about at the post-game presser. The idea of we're going to throw it inside until someone stops us, until someone shows that they can guard it. And that's something that, I know no one wants to talk about right now because it's still a few weeks away, but that is something that can be advantageous in Atlantic 10, which, I know Mason was finished, I believe it was 10th, either 9th or 10th. I think the A10 is a little bit more wide open than what people think it is. I think several teams can compete to be in that top 4. And Mason, as they continue to improve and get a little synergy with each other, it'll be interesting to see how they progress. Now, this wasn't a banner night for turnovers. George Mason turned the ball over. Oh, man, I have lost where they turned the ball 11 times, but a lot of those 11 were live ball turnovers off of pressing. And that's just, you just can't give up the points. Now, the flip side is Mason can say that, they got 22 points off of Cornell turnovers, on the flip side, but offensively at times they look like they could not break a press. And that's not something you want to see. So that is something that they definitely need to improve on and need to address. The board work was pretty good. 15 offensive rebounds, 37 total, 31 rebounds for Cornell. Second chance points, again, Mason doubled them 20 to 10. Mason beat them with 44 points in the paint compared to 28 for Cornell. But overall, this is just the type of win that, like I said, the next morning and 2 days from now, you're going to sit around there and think to yourself, you know what, this is a pretty good win, that we had the stress, that you had the anxiety, that you were being challenged, that you didn't get a friendly whistle, which Mason at times did not get a friendly whistle. Tonight's one of those things I never forget when I was coaching at at one of the local high schools, and we were bigger than a lot of the teams. One of the coaches used to say all the time, protect our big guys the way you're protecting their guards. And I felt like tonight that George Mason's inside the paint, with not necessarily only the big guys, but the closer they got to the paint, it just seemed like their guys wouldn't be protected. But then out on the perimeter, there were some calls there that some would say, you could have let go. So, but a win's a win. So I'm going to sign off here from EVA. Again, George Mason, 90